4 astronauts woke up on the 1st of April, 2026, strapped into a capsule roughly the size of 2 minivans, and did something no human being had done in 54 years. They left Earth orbit, not to the International Space Station, not for a loop around the planet. They pointed at the moon and kept going. And what happened over the next 10 days tells you everything about where humanity is headed next.
Pretty good roll pitch.
This is the story of Artemis II, the mission that just changed moon travel forever. To understand why Artemis II matters, you have to go back to where the whole program started, and more importantly, why it almost didn't happen. NASA had been talking about returning humans to the moon since the early 2000s. Programs launched. Programs got canceled. Budgets got cut. Political administrations changed, and priorities shifted. By the time Artemis I launched in November 2022, an uncrewed test flight, the agency had already burned through years of delays and billions of dollars. The critics were loud. The skeptics were louder. And the question everyone kept asking was simple. Can NASA actually pull this off? Artemis, I answered part of that question. The rocket worked. The Orion spacecraft survived a re-entry so violent it hit temperatures around 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. But there were no people inside. The real test was always going to be Artemis II. The crew that got the job is worth knowing. Commander Reid Wiseman, a Navy test pilot and veteran astronaut. Pilot Victor Glover, the first black astronaut assigned to a long-duration mission on the ISS. Mission Specialist Christina Koch, who already holds the record for the longest continuous spaceflight by a woman. And Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen, a Canadian Space Agency astronaut making his first trip to space. 4 people, 1 capsule, 10 days. Getting there wasn't clean. During a wet dress rehearsal in February 2026, engineers found a helium flow issue in the rocket's upper stage. The whole vehicle had to be rolled back to the vehicle assembly building for repairs. That pushed the launch from March all the way to April. The kind of setback that had historically plagued NASA programs, and the kind that makes you wonder whether the whole thing might just get scrubbed entirely. It didn't. On the 1st of April 2026, at 6:24 inches, the evening Eastern Time, the Space Launch System lifted off from Launch Complex 39B at Kennedy Space Center, the same general area where Apollo 8 left 58 years earlier. Now here's what people don't fully appreciate about that first day. Getting to the moon is not like getting to the ISS. The station orbits roughly 250 miles above Earth. The moon sits around 240,000 miles away. Once you leave Earth orbit, you're in a completely different category of spaceflight. Radiation increases. Communication delays become real. If something goes wrong, you cannot just turn around and dock somewhere. You are, in a very real sense, on your own. And something did go wrong almost immediately. On the first day, a fault light tied to Orion's toilet system started blinking. I mean, you plan for solar radiation and orbital mechanics, and then the toilet gives you problems. Mission Control worked with the crew, and by day 2, the system was back to normal. But that moment captures exactly what Artemis II was designed to test. Not just the rocket, not just the heat shield, everything. The living systems, the communications. The physical and psychological experience of 4 people crammed together in a spacecraft that looks more like a cluttered lab than anything from a science fiction movie. Inside Orion, the crew had 330 cubic feet of habitable space. That's about 60% more room than the Apollo command module, which sounds impressive until you realize there were 4 of them. Sleeping bags velcroed to the walls. A dual-purpose flywheel for 30 minutes of daily exercise. Meals developed with food scientists, rehydrated in space. Hygiene kits because, no, you cannot shower in microgravity. Rinseless shampoo and liquid soap. 32 cameras capturing almost everything. On day 3, the cabin temperature was too cold, and Victor Glover mentioned he wished they'd brought warmer sleeping bags. Then the sun angle shifted, and the windows started overheating. Mission Control asked the crew to cover them with t-shirts to block the heat. The morning of day 4, flight controllers woke the crew with Chapel Roan's Pink Pony Club. Deep space, it turns out, has a playlist. But the real moment the whole mission was building toward came on day 6, the 6th of April, 2026. The Orion spacecraft, which the crew had named Integrity, approached the moon. At 1:57 inches the afternoon Eastern Time, Artemis II broke the record for farthest distance any human being has ever traveled from Earth. The previous record had stood since 1970. Set by the Apollo 13 crew during their emergency return after an oxygen tank exploded. That crew reached 248,655 miles from Earth. Artemis II pushed past that by more than 4,100 miles, reaching a maximum distance of 252,756 miles. Think about that for a second. A record set during one of the most desperate moments in space exploration history. A crew fighting for their lives, held for 56 years. And it fell quietly on a Monday afternoon with 4 astronauts wearing eclipse earrings and watching the Earth shrink behind them. Shortly after breaking the record, Orion swung behind the moon. Earth disappeared. For roughly 40 minutes, Mission Control in Houston had no contact with the crew at all, one of the longest communication blackouts in human spaceflight history. On the other side of that silence, the 4 astronauts were doing something no human eyes had done in over half a century. Looking at the far side of the moon, up close, with the naked eye. They worked in pairs, taking 9 0-minute shifts at the windows. They observed a mysterious bright swirl on the lunar surface called Reiner Gamma. They studied Glushko Crater, known for white streaks shooting outward for 500 miles. They reported new shades of brown and blue they hadn't expected. And Commander Wiseman suggested naming an unnamed crater after his late wife, Carol. That's the detail that doesn't make it into the technical readouts, but stays with you. When Orion emerged from behind the moon and communications were restored, the crew witnessed something that hadn't been seen by human eyes since Apollo, an Earthrise. The planet appearing from behind the lunar edge, blue and small and very far away. We cover deep space stories like this every week. If that's the kind of thing you want more of, subscribe. The journey home took 4 days. On April 10, the Orion spacecraft re-entered Earth's atmosphere and splashed down in the Pacific off the coast of San Diego. Navy divers were in the water within minutes. The heat shield, which had to survive temperatures approaching those on the surface of the sun, held. Every major system performed. After a 694,481-mile round trip, the mission was declared a success. So what does it actually change? Artemis II wasn't a landing. Nobody set foot on the moon. The critics who point that out aren't wrong. But what the mission proved was something harder to fake. That a crew can live and function in deep space, that the Orion spacecraft can handle the environment beyond Earth's magnetosphere for real, sustained periods, and that the systems built to carry humans to the lunar surface are close. The next step is Artemis III in 2027, which will test lunar landers in Earth orbit. Then Artemis IV in 2028, which is the landing. 2 astronauts. The moon's south polar region. For the first time since December 1972. 52 years of waiting. And after 10 days in a capsule the size of 2 minivans, with a broken toilet and t-shirts on the windows and Chapel Roan playing at sunrise, it's finally starting to look real. There's another one on screen if you're not done yet.